Hi guys, and welcome to my review of Home Alone. One of the best Christmas movies, if not the best Christmas movie ever made. Made by John Hughes. But yeah. I guess this movie is about basically like a lot of this kid's family comes over to his house to stay for the holidays. They're supposed to be going on like a trip together. To like to Paris or something like that. And have like tickets booked and everything, so they're basically kinda in a rush. So they don't really notice that one kid's missing when they actually, get to the airport. And it isn't until like I don't know, like the end of the first act where one of the parents realize that one of the kids is missing, which is the main kid, and that's basically the whole story. That that this kid ends up home alone. And yeah, I guess I'll just get into more details as like after I've talked about the cast. All right, so for the cast we have Macaulay Culkin as Kevin, Joe Pesci as Harry, Daniel Stern as Marv, Catherine O'Hara as Kate, John Hurt as Peter. I guess, Devin Rattray is Buzz. Like, I think that's Kevin's brother. Kieran Culkin is basically Macaulay Culkin's brother in real life, which he was also in Scott Pilgrim, which is cool. Then John Candy, who passed away, rest in peace, plays as Gus Polinski. He's like a cameo in the movie. I guess Jerry Bammon plays the uncle. Robert's Blossom is Marley, the stranger of the movie. And then there's I guess, the rest of the kids who get a few scenes. Yeah. But yeah, the main character is, Macaulay Culkin's character, Kevin. Like, he's the, he's the main star of the movie. And then there's I guess you could say, villains. But also, like, if they wasn't in the movie, like, I don't think it'd be the same. Harry Lyman, Marv Merchant, like, basically Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern just play great, played probably the best, worst criminals in a movie ever. Basically, you know what I mean. Well, if you've watched this movie, you know what I mean when I say the best, worst criminals ever in a movie. Especially with how things go in the end. Lol. Because I used to watch this in high school as well. I used to play it like in high school on the holidays. And then like I just started watching it every Christmas until like from then to now, like yeah, I never really stopped watching it. It's basically been every Christmas from high school to now. I've always watched the first one. The second one, it is good, but I can't say that I've watched it every Christmas, like as many as just the first one. And then the sequels after the second one, yeah, let's not talk about them right now. Yeah. But yeah, without Harry and Marv, there'd be no Home Alone. There'd be no true threat. Because it'd just basically be like a kid at home by himself, while one of the parents are just worrying about the kid and trying to get home to see if he's okay. Because he could be in danger, which he actually is, but man, this kid can defend himself. Which, Kate is the mother, played by Catherine O'Hara. When she realizes, like, she just goes like, Kevin! Like, because basically, well, there was basically like yeah, I guess I'm kind of saying story stuff now because I'm going to talk about spoilers like straight after this. So yeah. So basically, Kate has like an argument with her son because like there was a scene where Buzz was just like tormenting Kevin, and then Kevin just goes to fight him and kind of makes a mess, and then he gets blamed for it. And then the quote goes like something like, "There's 15 kids in this house, and you're the only one to make trouble." When it's actually Buzz who started it, really tormenting him by taking his pizza or something like that. So he got mad about that, yeah. And then he just wishes that his family wasn't here. Because a lot of them are really mean to him. Like, one says, like, he's such a disease. Buzz says he's going to feed him to his tarantula. Yeah, like, so yeah. He hasn't really got the nicest family. Oh, they're just not really that nice to him. So he kind of wishes that they wasn't there. And then the next day, when they go on their trip, they completely forget about Kevin. And then we get that famous scene where he says, I made my family disappear since he wished for them to not be there. And I bet the mum kind of took that to heart as well. when Kevin said that he wished his family wasn't here. Yeah, in that scene, the dad. Who cares about the dad in these movies? In the first two movies, it seems like it's only the mom who truly cares. Yeah, the dad eventually tries to get home, but it's kind of the mother who's wanting to get home like the quickest out of all of them, who actually cares. Yeah. I guess when they find out that Kevin's not with them, like some of them do care, but Buzz he's just like he doesn't care at all. And he does say that he does live in the town where there wouldn't really be danger because it's not really a dangerous part of town. But then Harry and Marv show up and stuff, so that happens. But Kevin is just such a cool kid that he can fight them off, which we'll get into that as I talk about spoilers and stuff. Even though, like, is this really a movie that I can say it's spoilers? Like, if you've never watched this movie, then man, you've missed out. Because for a lot of people, this is the best Christmas movie. And I guess at this point, it's obvious. Like, Elf is my favorite Christmas movie because I just have so much fun watching it. Like every single time, like I just laugh at every scene. It's just hard to not laugh. It's just seeing a grown man just acting like a kid is just the way how to do it. Like it's just so perfect by Will Ferrell. So yeah, I just can't wait to review that one. That's like the final Christmas movie I'll be reviewing. And then it's like two more normal movies for this year. And then that's it for reviews for, well, I still need to review the last episode of The Mandalorian, which will be tomorrow. And then I guess I'll just keep reviewing Power, and that's basically it for the rest of the year. And then going into 2021, yeah, like Power will still be on into it like episode 10. Then I need to finally watch The Boys because I actually never did it. Like, there's just so much stuff on, I couldn't do it. But yeah, I'll finally do it like in early, 2021 by the end of January. Like, I'll have that reviewed. and the shoutouts are coming tomorrow, so yeah. That's another one. That's another thing I need to do. And I also need to thank you guys for helping me get to 800 followers. Like, I really appreciate you guys for doing that, for helping me out. I'm just happy that I've got this community to get through this, awful year. So I've had people to talk to, other than my family, which is it's been good to have them. But yeah, also you guys, like you've got me through this year because it's been hard for a lot of us. But yeah, I don't know what else I can talk about before I start talking about spoilers. But yeah, have you ever imagined being home alone, but like as Kevin's age, like because he's like 8 years old in this movie. Just imagine being home alone by yourself, and then it's like just things that you've always wanted to do when you're like home by yourself. Like that's what Kevin is basically able to do in this movie. Like he makes ice cream whenever he wants. He actually orders pizza, and there's like a funny scene with that, which I'll talk about in spoilers. Oh yeah, the that fictional movie in the movie, yeah, in this movie, yeah, in the Home Alone movie, yeah, I can't to talk about that. Keep the change, you filthy animal. Yeah, that's one of the best scenes. I kind of like how to do it in the second one as well. Oh, it's just that scene's perfect every time they do it. I just don't know if there's actually going to be a reboot, and maybe I just don't know how they're going to do it if there is a reboot and they bring Macaulay Culkin back. But yeah, definitely a legendary movie if you haven't seen it. And so I guess spoilers now, which it feels weird to say spoilers for this movie. Like, can you really spoil this movie? It's not really that kind of movie where it has like a proper story that you need to not be spoiled. It's just like a movie that you watch for fun, really. Just a great legendary Christmas movie. But yeah, you just seen like I said, you just seen Kevin just doing things that he wouldn't normally do, and just the scene where when he puts on this thing that people use when they're shaving the beard and stuff. Like it just burns his face and he goes like, ah! I just love that scene every time. Yeah, he just does a lot of things while he's in the house, and I guess he's also scared of the basement, but eventually faces his fears. And I think that sometime after he goes to the supermarket by himself, and there's that scene where, the lady just like when Kevin's at the checkout and he's paying for his own stuff, and then he just says like, because like she's saying that, are you by yourself? And he says, yeah, right, like I'm by myself. And then he just says that his parent, like a parent, is outside in the car, and just ask some other questions as well, like if you have any brothers or sisters. It says like I'm the only child and stuff like that. Yeah, and where do you live? And he says that I'm not going to tell a stranger, which that's a smart thing to do. Yeah. And then like when he's going out the store and going home, like his bag just whips though. So I could just imagine like how did he get the rest of them stuff home? Did he just like carry him? Yeah, I wonder how he did that because it just skipped to him, I guess washing clothes and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of cool like all the things he was able to do by himself while home alone, and possibly starting to realize that people are trying to break into his house, which that's when Marv and Harry come into the story. All right, so we're talking about Harry and Marv now. Like I said before, the worst criminals in the movie ever. Because I can't think of criminals like so bad than these guys. It seems like they kind of do have a good plan, but because basically at the beginning, Harry pretends to be a police officer and is trying to find out when the family's actually leaving, and it's kind of like chaotic with all the kids around. So it kind of took a long time for him to actually get a proper answer until like it was like after the scene where Kevin was getting in trouble and the mom was taking him upstairs. That's when he actually gets the information he needs, and then that's when he tries to rob the house. But then when Kevin's starting to realize that someone's trying to rob the house, he does things to keep them away. The first time he just puts on lights in the house and they I guess run away. The second time is that the scene when he makes like a Michael Jordan. He uses a Michael Jordan, cutout and makes it look like and makes it move and stuff. Like it's just like man, Kevin's just so cool with the things that he does. As a kid, you wouldn't think he could do all of that. Yeah, he just keeps him away for a long time, but then they start to realize that wait, there must be something up because they definitely have a lot of signs that they're not actually there. So it's possibly just like one person there. Especially when they realize that it's just like the same kid who they nearly won over is actually living there because they was like following him before as well. Yeah, they basically end up looking out the window and finding out that Kevin's the only one who's actually home, and then that's when they plan to attack. And there's also like a stranger who Kevin's scared of, but we kind of find out that he's actually not that bad. But man, if I was a stranger and I get bad things, like I get bad things called about me because possibly the way how I look at people, because the way how I used to look at Kevin in the early scenes of the movie, I'd be scared of him too if I was a kid. But then like in the church scene, when things are starting to get intense for Kevin because he knows that they're gonna try break into his house. That's when he goes to the church, and then the stranger guy comes up who's also called Marley. That's his name. He's actually not a bad guy because also the second time when he got scared of him was when he saw him in a store because he was doing like he was buying a toothbrush, but then like he sees him again, and you just see him with a cut on his hand. Maybe did that from anger or something because we do find out a lot of backstory, and it kind of adds like one of the emotional parts of the movie for the stranger because like compared to the Christmas with the Cramps that has like one emotional scene at the end, but this movie has like two, which makes it so special. Adding this stranger character and then the ending with how things end with Kevin. Definitely really touching moments every time you watch the movies. Just having those two things there, it's just perfect. Which I'll discuss at the end. But yeah, these guys just make a funny duo. Like Marv is just the I don't know if I should call him dumb dumb, and then I guess Harry is the one who comes up with the plans and just tries his best to succeed with what he comes up with. But yeah, these guys are just a funny duo. And it's kind of funny how things go for them when they actually try to steal from the house, but Kevin has a plan. But I'm still going to talk about the stranger first before I talk about that scene, the best scene of the movie. All right, so I'm talking about Marley the stranger now. So yeah, it seems like he's actually not a bad guy after all. Just people think he's probably a bad guy because of the way how he looks at people. But then Kevin actually realizes that hey, he's not really that bad of a guy, and Kevin's actually able to give him some good advice because we actually find out that he had like Marley had an argument with his son, and it was so bad that he couldn't really see his son's daughter, and the only time he actually gets to see the daughter is I guess at the church, and that's why he comes to the church to see his well basically his I wouldn't say niece right, but basically to see that's like the only time he actually gets to see her, right? Yeah, because like the son's probably not letting letting him see the daughter at all. Yeah, but yeah, like he's just really scared to phone his son to see if they can work things out. But then Kevin kind of convinces him to face his fears because like Kevin also did the same thing, and he's also trying to face two criminals who are trying to break into his house, let alone trying to go down to the basement because he's scared of the basement and what's down there. But he kind of gets brave and just handles it. But then he convinces him to phone his son, and then they actually work things out in the end, which is a heartfelt moment at the end when we see him with his son and his niece. And he also kind of helps Kevin with the guys who are trying to evade his home. But yeah, let me just talk about the parents and mainly the mom as well. All right, so at the beginning, when I was a kid, I'd say these were like awful parents who I'd never really want to have as my parents. But, older, I kind of understand the situation because there was a lot of kids around. And it was kind of hard to manage them all. And then you could kind of tell that the mom did care for Kevin. The dad, I don't even know. Like to this day, I still don't even know what to think about him. He does eventually make it home, but like it was the mother who really wanted to get back home to Kevin, and that's how mothers are really compared to dads, I guess. Not all dads are like that. I'm not trying to say that, but yeah. But mothers mostly tend to have more care for their children, and that's why she wanted to get home as soon as possible. Which that's when she meets that stranger. But yeah, it's mainly the mother who is like the one who cares compared to the uncle who said, like when she found out that Kevin was missing, the uncle just tried to compare that to him forgetting his reading glasses, which is kind of weird. But yeah, you could just see that the mom cared more than the father or anyone else. Even though some of the kids also cared, but it's not like they could do much. And Buzz, he didn't really care. So yeah, after the Kevin scene, when she realizes, Kevin's not on the plane, that's when she just tries to do everything she can, to get home. Like she tries to get several planes back home, but things are not really working out. But then she does meet a stranger who eventually helps her out because man, like all the things she did to try to get home to Kevin, even phoning the police, but those figure like it was some crisis or something. But it's just like her son was home alone, but they didn't really understand that. But they still eventually sent an officer, but then that didn't work out as well. Yeah. But yeah, she eventually meets someone who helps her out. All right, so this stranger Gus actually helps him out. I guess he was trying to say that he used to be a cinema and stuff, but it's not like she really cared about that in the moments. Like she just wanted their help. But yeah, he kind of offers like to give her a ride back, to Chicago, since they're kind of passing by there. So yeah, they basically offer assistance, and I guess like he's the biggest help for helping the mother get home as fast as possible. But if you kind of think about it, like, because at the end, basically the others still make it home like a few minutes before the mother. So really, like, she could have just went with them, but like the mother, it just kind of showed that how much the mother really cared about getting home to her son, and it kind of showed to Kevin that she cared the most. But yeah, this guy was a big help, even though she had to suffer them sinning, but I think she was fine with it as long as there was helping her out, and he was definitely a good guy to do that for her, to help her get home to her son. All right, so I'm just going to talk about the best part of the movie now. When Kevin's fighting there is one thing I missed with the keep the change, you filthy animal movie thing, the movie line in that fake movie. Like, because he does use it a few times. He did use it like one of the times to scare off one of the criminals. Because yeah, I just love when that happens. It's just such a funny scene. Because the first time he scared the pizza guy away, and it kind of makes up for what Buzz did to stealing his slices, Kevin's slices. So it kind of scares the pizza guy away with that movie. It's just such a funny scene all the time, and if you've seen the movie, then you know what I mean. And when he does it to the criminals who are trying to rob the house, when he's trying to scare them away one of the times, yeah, that was funny. But this time he uses firecrackers, so it kind of makes more sense that it sounds like it's gunshots. Yeah. I don't know if that's really like realistic in a way, but it's Home Alone. Who cares? But yeah, I'm just gonna talk about the showdown now because he kind of uses a BB gun to hurt him at first. Like he just sets up traps around the whole house. So when he tried to break in, like just a lot of things go on. And I will mention one of my most favorite one, which is kind of brutal. Like in real life, like that's pretty brutal. Other than like, because there is there's a brutal one in Home Alone 1, which I'm gonna mention, and then like Home Alone 2, like Jesus, like he'd be dead. That's what I'm gonna say. He'd be dead if the kid did that in real life. Like he'd be like the guy would be dead. And you probably know which one I'm talking about in Home Alone 2 with what Kevin does. But yeah, but yeah, this one like damn. So yeah, also there was a scene where Kevin was trying to reach something, but then like I think it's in Buzz's room, and it kind of falls down and kind of messes it all up, and then Buzz's tarantula actually gets free, and that kind of comes back later on for a funny scene where Marv is trying to get through the traps, but then like he actually jumps on his face. Wait, no, Kevin puts it on his face and then runs away, and then he just get like a hilarious scream. Oh man, that's just a classic scene. And then it ends up on Harry, and then Marv wants to, you know, hit it, but then he just ends up hitting, Harry. Then he wants to get, a bit of payback and just hits him as well. Yeah, man, these guys are so funny. And just Kevin just such is just so good at setting traps and fooling them. Yeah, yeah. I'm just gonna mention my favorite trap. So yeah, my favorite trap is the flamethrower one. It's just so brutal. You can kind of see the burns afterwards, but if that was in real life, man, those would be permanent. Man, I'm not sure if he takes off his hat in the second movie or anything to see if there's still burns there. But yeah, just so brutal. In real life, that would be pretty bad. Yeah, man. But it does make me laugh every time I see it though, and that's why it's my favorite trap in the first movie. All right, so eventually, like I think it's like after the treehouse scene. Yeah, I think it's after the treehouse scene. When Marv is the one who just keeps going into the traps, but then Harry's the one who's trying to think more and realize what he's actually doing because they're just going into traps after traps. Just yeah, so he's just starting to realize that we need to be more smart about things, and then they eventually actually catch up on Kevin and actually get him, and I guess they're gonna basically torture him. But then that's when the stranger Marley comes and helps and just knocks them both out, and then the cops gone. Then the cops come, then they get arrested, and that kind of how it ends for them. Yeah, that was a funny duo. And then Marley, ended up as a hero as well. And also, this is the worst buff I've ever seen in a movie. Low. And that's probably never going to change, with my opinion. Yeah. It was such a horrible brother, though. And I just haven't really seen a lot of movies where there's a brother that is just this non caring. Even by the end, it doesn't seem like he really cared. He just more cared about his room, but yeah, that's my thoughts on the brother. So yeah, the mom finally makes it home after when Kevin goes back in inside his home after Marley takes him home because I think he ends up in like a stranger's house at the end, and that's where the rest of the showdown went. Showdown, but yeah, like when he gets home, like it just seems like no one's home yet. But then he sees his mom, and he's just really happy to see her again. And yeah, it's a really nice moment. Other than the moment where you see Marley with his family, which is another nice moment, like both together, just both perfect, and that's what makes this movie so special with the way how they execute it. And it's just kind of messed up with the second movie. It's kind of like a rehash of this the first movie, and it kind of shows that the parents never learn from their first time mistake, like the first time this happened, the first time they made this mistake. Yeah, like the same thing just happens again. Like that's just it doesn't work the second time, and that's why the second movie isn't. It's just basically a copy, even though there's some moments that are just really funny, and you kind of that's why I can still say I'm happy that there was a sequel, but it just kind of messes up the message of the first movie in a way because the sequel they just do the same thing again, basically. Yeah, just a few changes and different location, like in New York and stuff. So yeah, but yeah, this is still a legendary movie. And I'm probably going to watch it every Christmas until the day I die. Yeah. But yeah, that's my review of Home Alone. I really hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you in my final Christmas review for this year, Elf. But yeah, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Peace. With